Do you know why Dave Bautista likes to wear sunglasses so much? Or which ailment he suffered from as a child? Here's a few insights into the complicated personal life of the wrestler turned actor. Dave Bautista grew up in Washington, D.C., but his time in the nation's capital during the 80s had little to do with monuments and museums. Bautista told the Tampa Bay Times that he often saw violent acts firsthand in his neighborhood, like the time he, quote, watched from his window as a mob beat a man and tried to throw him from an overpass. In his memoir, Bautista Unleashed, the wrestler revealed even more gruesome details of his time in Washington, D.C., such as the time a dead body wound up on his front lawn. When two more people suffered similar deaths in the neighborhood, Bautista's mother felt the need to relocate the family to San Francisco. While living on the West Coast, Bautista's mother found herself on welfare and without a job. Bautista recalled sharing a mattress with his sister and having to use unconventional items as furniture. He said of his family's San Francisco apartment, "We had milk crates to sit on in the kitchen and industrial-sized wire spools for a kitchen table. We had that for years."
So, what did you want to be when you were a little kid?
Oh, I wanted to be alive.
Bautista started skipping school in first grade, but what started off as missing a few classes soon became excessive. Bautista claims that he skipped most of his sixth grade year. As for what he would do with that extra time, Bautista has admitted his choices didn't always add up. Writing in his memoir, "One time, a couple of friends and I ditched school the day the class was going on a field trip to the zoo. So what did we do? We went to the zoo." Bautista would spend his free time riding around San Francisco on the city buses and cable cars, oftentimes without paying his fare. Bautista's rebellion against school continued into his teenage years, when his mother sent him back east to live with his dad, and he eventually dropped out during his senior year. In an interview for Men's Health, Bautista had mixed feelings about his decision to leave high school prematurely, saying, "My circumstances were different, and school wasn't a priority. I always live with that regret, and I'm not ashamed of it." Bautista's advice to high schoolers, as written in Bautista Unleashed, is to, quote, "Stay in school, learn as much as you possibly can." Bautista started having run-ins with the law from a young age. Much of the future wrestler's time as a teenager was spent stealing bikes and getting into fights. He wrote, "I never spent more than a day in jail. I wasn't stealing or breaking the law to get back at anyone. I was stealing because all my friends were doing it." After a particularly violent fight left Bautista with an assault charge, he was sent to a group home to live with about a dozen other young men. After leaving the home, he was sent back after throwing a party that trashed his dad's house. In another childhood incident, Bautista terrorized a young boy and was arrested for, quote, "stuffing a kid in the trunk of a car, beating him up, and stealing his mom's jewelry." However, the charges were eventually dropped after the jewelry was returned. Later, Bautista got a job as a nightclub bouncer, but his angry outbursts continued while he was on the job. He was found guilty of misdemeanor assault after a violent confrontation with a man who was harassing his girlfriend, but the conviction was eventually overturned. Bautista felt justified in his aggression, commenting, "I made sure his head met a couple of brick walls on the way out." As a young boy, Bautista was especially close with his grandfather, Alfonso. In his memoir, Bautista explained that his grandfather wasn't very affectionate toward him or his cousins as babies, until one day when his mother had to tend to something quickly. He detailed, "She just threw me in my grandfather's arms." His face lit up. From that day, I was his favorite grandchild. When Alfonso passed away, Bautista was heartbroken. In the midst of his loss, the 18-year-old wasn't able to maintain a similar relationship with his grandmother. Bautista also had a difficult relationship with his father. He said of his dad's presence in his life, "In all the years after my parents split up, basically since I was able to walk, I never felt my father supported us." When Bautista became a dad himself, he resolved not to make the same mistakes, but his career as an actor created an obstacle in his relationship with his own family. He confessed to Men's Health that he missed his 14-year-old son and 2 dogs back home while filming the sequel to Knives Out in Serbia. Prior to becoming a wrestler, and later an international movie star, Bautista was in serious financial trouble. He held a job as a bouncer from the age of 17 to around 30, but it wasn't enough to keep him afloat. Bautista revealed in his memoir, "I was broke and had no future and had 2 kids. I was desperate. I had nothing. Fortunately, Bautista's plan to break into professional wrestling succeeded, and he started to earn significantly more money. Then, as an actor, his bank account swelled even more. However, having earned such a massive amount of money in such a short time frame, Bautista started spending recklessly. He purchased multiple extravagant cars, but looking back on his financial decisions, Bautista said that he regretted not buying his mom a house sooner. He told Men's Health, "I wasted all that money, and I could have done a lot of good things with that money. I could have helped people. I could have helped animals. But honestly, I was miserable, and I was just trying to buy happiness." Fortunately, Bautista was eventually able to purchase a home for his mother, and his net worth is currently estimated to be in the tens of millions of dollars. For a man who spent so much of his public career shirtless, Bautista's sensibilities about body image might come as a surprise. Bautista has said one of the reasons he decided to make Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, his final entry in the MCU, was because of the demanding physique of his character, Drax the Destroyer. On an episode of Ellen, the actor confessed, "I'm also going to be 54 years old by the time Guardians 3 comes out, and the shirtless thing is getting harder and harder for me." To keep himself in top physical condition, Bautista prescribed himself a limited diet of, quote, lots of vegetables, fish, and eggs. Even though his muscles and 6'4" stature make sense for a lot of roles he has taken on as an actor, Bautista aspires to distance himself from any stereotypes. He told Vulture, "I think a lot of guys who would be playing action stars are looking for ways to make themselves more alpha, more masculine, more heroic. I'm always looking for the opposite. I'm looking for ways to kind of take away from my stature and physicality, to make me more vulnerable." Using his body as an asset has served Bautista well as both a wrestler and an actor. Behind the scenes, however, he's dealt with multiple health issues. In Bautista Unleashed, the wrestler discussed his childhood asthma, which gave him allergies to, quote, animals, pollen, and cigarette smoke. As a young man, Bautista often had to be rushed to the ER multiple times a week as a result of his asthma issues. He credited his mother with meticulously cleaning their house and buying foam pillows to help alleviate his symptoms. Fortunately, Bautista never let his breathing troubles get in the way of his career, writing, "I've never had an attack where I was in serious jeopardy. It's just part of my life." Of course, Bautista's wrestling injuries haven't done his health any favors either. On a 2018 episode of Personal Mastermind, Bautista said that his torn tricep tied with his broken back for his worst injury in the ring. Although he had little trouble finding roles in Hollywood to showcase his acting talents, Dave Bautista has struggled with his relationships during his time in the public eye. In 2015, Bautista married his third wife, national pole dancing champion Sarah Jade, but the two ended up breaking things off just 4 years later. The two split custody of their pit bulls, and Bautista covered up his tattoo of her name on his ring finger with a spider. Reflecting on his previous relationships, Bautista revealed that his professions played a part in several of his failed marriages. Bautista told Men's Health, "She wanted a husband who was going to be home. I chose my career because it was the only shot I had." Following his separation with Jade, Bautista linked up with a new mystery woman while filming a project. As of 2021, the pair have been together for 2 years. Bautista has labeled himself a very liberal person on multiple occasions, but he still believes in the constitutional right to bear arms. He has admitted to keeping weapons at his house for personal protection, telling TMZ, "We have the right to defend ourselves in our homes." However, Bautista later clarified his stance on gun control in an interview with the Tampa Bay Times, saying, "I'm pro-firearm, but I don't think we need assault rifles." In the aftermath of the horrific school shooting in Parkland, Florida, Bautista reportedly looked into surrendering his own AR-15 rifle to police, but the cops turned him down. The actor said of his weapon, "I'm fine giving mine up, because if somebody breaks into my house, I'm not running to get my AR." Bautista has kept his AR-15 locked away in a safe ever since, and the only time you might see him use a gun that heavy nowadays is in the movies.
Do not touch.
Although Bautista may have retired from the wrestling ring, his competitive fighting spirit lives on in his social media accounts. The actor is an active Twitter user, especially when it comes to voicing his disdain for former President Donald Trump. Bautista tweeted his support of impeachment efforts in early 2020. The actor also voiced his support for Senator Bernie Sanders and prayed for a debate between the two men, adding, "Please let President Dum Dum stand there by himself and be exposed and humiliated by a decent man." In another tweet, Bautista offered up a $20,000 reward and bonuses for information leading to the arrest of the person who mutilated a Florida manatee with the word Trump. Bautista isn't afraid to draw any criticism online, as evidenced by his official Twitter title in 2021, Vaxxed AF. #Team Pfizer. Poor kid chasing dreams. In his interview with Men's Health, Bautista admitted that he thought about stepping away from his Twitter account for a while, but felt a responsibility to stay, saying, "I stayed on because I want to be an opposing voice to all those assholes who are out here being racists and bigots and polarizing our country. There's no middle ground for me. It's either you do the right thing or you're not part of the solution." Whether on the red carpet, at an interview, or any number of other events, Bautista is often spotted wearing his signature tinted sunglasses. While the eyewear has become an iconic part of Bautista's brand as an actor, they're more than just a fashion statement. Reportedly, Bautista first started wearing sunglasses to help with his anxiety when he became a public figure as a wrestler. To help combat the overwhelming feelings, Bautista feels more comfortable behind tinted glass. He has referred to his spectacles as, quote, "a pacifier, a therapeutic thing." He even wore some yellow shades with a full-on tuxedo, bow tie and all, at the Venice Film Festival in support of his movie Dune. Bautista told Men's Health of these publicity events, "When press junkets go on for days and days, I struggle. I look for people that I really love to kind of just grasp onto, and they make me happy." In the case of the Dune press tour, Bautista was besties with his co-star Josh Brolin, whom he'd previously worked with in the MCU. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Nicki Swift videos about your favorite stars are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.